Hi, welcome to Big Sexy Chat. My name is Crystal.
I'm Merf.
Hi, Merv.
Hi,
We are
Crystal.
just two rad fatties sitting around talking about sex toys today.
Sex toys and lube.
And baldos.
Oh my gosh. I have so many questions. And now that I've seen it, I have even more questions.
Yeah. And people will know what we're talking about when they listen to our interview with Ryan from All Lubed Up. But yeah, we did talk about the baldo. And it's a sex toy for the balls. And it's fascinating. And I think I got the feeling he's tried it personally. So
Yeah.
he said he's liked it a lot. So anyway, we've been chatting about some other stuff. But tonight, right now, we want to talk about something that's not so fun, which is that damn movie, The Whale. Now, I don't know about you, but I would never go see a movie called The Whale unless it was a documentary about whales and it was made by the National Discovery. I'm not seeing a movie called The Whale, ever.
Yeah. Well, maybe if it's a little kid movie and it's featuring a whale. But Crystal, this broke my heart. Like, I just want to kiss Brendan Fraser and be like, I know it was you, Freda. Oh my gosh, no, don't do this to me. I have been in love with this man forever, and that's the reason I'm having such a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Because I respect him so much as a human, and he was such a huge part of my childhood, teenage years. And I would like to think that he has more common sense than to do this. And I was just like, oh, and I know that, he's going to excuse his way out of that. And,
Sure.
And it will be acceptable. And of course, from that industry and basically every industry, it's totally fine to talk about fat people and make up their own stories about what our lives are like.
Oh, yeah.
But with all that being said, big disappointment that Brendan was a part of that.
Yes, because I know he's making a comeback, and he's had a few things going on recently, but I was like, is he not in the know? Does he not know fat suits are bad? Like, has he not followed how other people get totally dragged for wearing a fat suit, like Renee Zellweger? And has he missed all of that somehow? But he hasn't been in isolation, and people ask him, why is a fat suit bad? I'm like, oh, first of all, there's such thing as fat actors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple. That's the first thing, right? And we can't take our fat off. That's just who we are. So we're not like a character to play or a costume to wear. We are fat humans. So there's really no humanity in wearing a fat suit or using fat CGI. It's like you're not considering my humanity.
Right.
Is that what you think, Merf?
Yeah, I think that the biggest part of that is it's still one of the most acceptable ways to, just dehumanize someone. And to have it, no matter what the story is, this guy has a mental health disorder, it turns into an addiction that then leads to all these other issues. He loses his kid. I don't care about that part of the story because I'm so distracted by all of the other issues that arise from the fat suit, to not understanding a fat person's story, to not depicting them in the way that they really are. It's so layered that I get to that point where I'm no longer interested.
Yeah, no. I will never watch this movie. And I don't usually like to critique things unless I've seen them, but I've seen enough to know I probably won't ever see it. I'm not going to give them any of my money. And I don't need to layer on more hurt for me. I have a thick skin and all, but the whole movie is shot in his apartment. That just sounds claustrophobic to me anyway. I'm like, but yeah, and he's a queer person too in the movie. I don't know how much they paid attention to that part and if they got that right.
Well, and I think I'm sure he did. I'm sure he did a phenomenal job in the role. I don't expect anything less from Brendan Fraser.
Right.
But I think that there's so much other social context around everything that movie potentially has in fat phobia in our culture and queerness and father-daughter relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
there's just too much, I don't know, there's just
It's
too
fraught.
much. Yeah, there's too
Fraught with
much
a lot
to
of
be
shit.
able to actually say, yeah, I want to see this, or that this gives me some real glimpse into somebody's life. And I think that's what really, really irritates me, is that it's always like some sideshow kind of thing. Like you're something to be seen at the circus. And
Exactly.
so, it's like I just can't. Yeah.
Yeah, the eating yourself to death bullshit. I'm like,
Yeah, like, oh, well, I'm depressed. So because I'm depressed, I'm fat and I'm lazy and I've ruined my life and I just have no motivation. And
and you're gonna
oh,
die. I've been told in my past I was gonna die when I was 30, or you're
oh
gonna die
yeah,
by the time you're 40. Guess what, bitches? I'm 54. So,
exactly.
hashtag old fatty. Um, it's so just like it's been done 1,000 times, like, do they have anything new, a new spin on this? I doubt it.
No,
And yeah, we don't need your pity. We don't need you to feel sorry for us. I don't know about you, but there is no thin person inside of me trying to get out. I'm just living my damn best life right now as a fat person who doesn't diet. I reject diet culture. And I have a great life. My life is very fulfilled. I'm very self realized. I'm very well adjusted, mostly.
but your narrative doesn't fit our social construct, right? Of this.
Right?
And so then it's like, oh, well, there's all these people that like themselves that are fat. There's all these people that want you to accept your body as it is. Like, no, 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 no. We are fully sideshow freak kind
Totally.
of thing.
Yes.
There is no in between, you know?
I am a
I
freak.
think, me too, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's just, yeah, it's sad. It's just stereotype, right? That I hate when,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he said, I know he said something about it really
Did he?
gave me a sincere understanding about the plight of fat people and all that. And no, it didn't. It
No.
may
How
have
could
given
it?
you a glimpse to what it's like to be looked at in a way by other people. It may have given you that, but that's not at all what it's like to be a fat person.
Not even close. No. I was getting my bivalent vaccine today, and
Oh, congratulations.
thank you. I got it, and I said, "Oh, I forgot to ask you about the extra long needle for fat people." And she goes, "Oh, well, I don't want to call you fat," but I go, "No, it's not an insult. It's just I'm fat, right?" She goes, "Sure." I go, "It's okay." She goes, "I think I think you're going to be all right." I go, "Actually, I don't have a lot. Other parts of my body are way fatter than my arms, so I'm probably okay. Most of us should ask them to be prepared with a longer needle." But the one I used the word fat to this lady, I kind of forgot what that's like, because most of my circles they know me. They know I love the
Right,
word fat. This is who I am. I also have
right.
purple hair. And so she was like, ah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I go, if you think of it as an insult, then it is. But if you don't think of it as an insult, it's not.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's so interesting to see how much internal fat phobia people have when you just say that about yourself, when you're just like
Mm-hmm.
using it as a plain old descriptor. Oh no, don't say that about it.
You're
No,
beautiful.
yeah. It's hilarious. I was actually out with a bunch of work colleagues, and we go to this Mexican restaurant that's famous in our town, and I order flour chips instead of just the plain old
Fatty.
corn tortilla chips.
Fatty.
No. They were like, "Ooh, what's that?" And so the flour chips come out, and they're amazing, right?
Where's there?
And they're like, "Oh my God, how did you know?" And I was like, "Bitch, like, look at me.
Girl,
What the
I
hell
know.
you think?" And they're like, "Oh no." And I was like, "No, I know my shit. I know where the good stuff's at. Like, that's not a bad thing. You don't get to act like this is a bad thing. Like, I'm a foodie and I'm fat and I enjoy it. Leave me alone."
This is the benefit of going places with me, okay? I know my
Yes,
shit when it comes to food.
exactly.
I'll tell you a quick Sydney story. Sydney and I are both in this group. Sydney's one of our correspondents, and hopefully lots of you know her already. But she and I were at a fat brunch at a key here on the back patio recently. And there's 12 fat ladies, and they're all, I'm a size 28, 30, and they're all around my size, some larger, some a little bit smaller. And we're having a good time. We're all just, femme presenting people. And it's pretty obvious we don't have any male presenting people at our table. But of course, a dude has to stop and talk to us. And how when people hit on you at a bar and you're like not even looking at them, but he just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming and stuff. And it's like, and he's like, oh, you guys are all beautiful. Like every one of you is beautiful. Wow, you're all beautiful in your own way. And then Sydney says, fat and beautiful are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, girl.
Thanks, Sydney. So me being the reality police, he's closest to me. I could tell he's drunk. He's just bugging the crap out of me. I'm like, can't you take a hint? We don't have one person here that looks like a male. So I finally say, he goes, oh, you guys give really good advice. I should just listen in. And some girl goes, yeah, and take this information back to your people. And then I said, yeah, one more thing. Women should be able to go out for a jog at 4 a.m, buck naked in a forest, and still expect to come home alive. Tell your people. And guess what? He ran so far, so fast to get away. Just bring up that word rape with around men. And they're,
whoa, I gotta go.
Just tell your people.
Yeah, wow.
I think I tried to explain to her, I hope she got it, but she's also a pharmacist, and she's, she probably has all that medical fat phobia in her head.
Yeah.
So when I said fat, she's like, well, I don't want to use the word fat to describe you. I go, no, it's okay. I'm fat. Right. I'm not like chubby. I'm not like pleasantly plump. I am fat.
Oh yeah. I do that in my orientation for new employees. Because I do cultural competency, and I'll just be like, as you can see very clearly, I'm a very large fat woman, blah, blah, blah. And the looks on their faces are just like, what did she just say? Like, oh my God, I'm going to file an HR complaint against her saying it about herself,
Yeah, pretty much.
It's wild.
Yeah, I think fat people and trans people, we are kind of some of the last couple of, especially if you're fat, black, and trans, or fat and trans. It's totally socially okay to make fun of us and make us the object of the punchline of your joke. I know it's getting a tiny bit better, Merf, but sometimes I get so tired of just
fighting
the breadcrumbs. I just get so tired of it. I want real change.
Yeah. I hear you. And it feels like, okay, we've made progress, and then something like this happens.
Yes.
And then it's like, slide back. And we start again.
It was an ugly couple of weeks online. I was just like, good Lord. And some people, watching this, they might not be as well adjusted as I am. Maybe they're in the middle of an eating disorder or whatever. People have all kinds of things going on, and that stupid effing movie, I was like, good God.
And I'm sure he'll win an Oscar. I'm sure.
Like, the world is so cruel right now. It's really rough out there right now. And like a movie called The Whale, that's like the last thing we need right now.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like 600-pound life or whatever it is. That it's just a fucking sideshow. And I'm sick of it. Like, I want to be the main character. I just want to be the main character. I want to see myself represented. I want to cry on stage like fucking Lizzo and be like, I've looked to find someone like me my entire life. Like, that's all I want to see. And I don't want it to be some stupid blonde bitch that, like, I'm thinking of Rebel Wilson, where it's like, oh, I get this huge, wonderful experience from this. And then I'm going to lose weight because I never really was fat. I put on that weight so that I would be given an opportunity to be the butt of the joke. And now I want to be the main character. So to do that, I have to change exactly who I am. And it's like, no, I don't want to see that. I just want to see me.
When Lizzo said, I want to see someone beautiful like me, black like me, I was like, yes.
Yeah. Representation
matters. Have you seen those little TikToks and stuff of those black girls? Like, their parents show them the Black Mermaid, and they're like, oh, Mom, is she black? I'm like, oh, I just got chills right now.
Yeah.
Of course, representation matters.
Of course I mean, shit, just watching Wonder Woman, I wasn't impressed with the movie, but I
No.
was crying like a little baby when it
Mm-hmm.
ended.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's looking at me, he's like, what is the deal? And I'm just like, do you know how long I've waited to see a strong woman that's the main character? Like, little girls are going to grow up
Yep.
with that in the world as something that they get to see. And it's not meant to be like, and that's what I loved about that movie was like they were Amazonian, like they were warriors.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't this like I need to have big fake boobs and a little waist and all that kind of crap that it's like that has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, it's
Let me kick some ass.
Right. We are ragey. We are very ragey right now. We are pissed off. The whole Roe v. Wade thing, I'm full of rage. So
right?
Better watch out, man.
Exactly.
Yes. That's too much. Way too much. We should also mention that we have a drawing going on. Our lovely and amazing sponsor, Liberator. They're going to help us to give away 2 of their amazing sex blankets, not sex toy blankets. It's the blanket that keeps all things liquid on the right place on the blanket instead of on your bed or your couch or your floor or your car. And
Love it.
So, yeah, if you haven't already, go to our website, bigsexychat.com. There's a place where you can add your email and name, and that's all you have to do. But if you also write us a review somewhere, even on our own website, we're going to give you 5 extra entries into the drawing. And by the way, not one person has done that yet. So and we have about 800 or 900 people in our database now. So you have good odds anyway. But
wow, you get 5 more extra entries just for giving us a review. And you can tell me I suck. I don't care.
Sure.
I would
be honest.
Much prefer constructive feedback. But, if that's what you needed to do to get your 5 entries, then hey, go for it.
Yeah, we want honesty.
Somebody's at least getting a sex blanket.
That's right. And I have 3 of them. I fucking love that thing. Washer, dryer, no problem every time. Nothing ever gets wet. It's super comfy. It's squishy. We all love all the Liberator products here at Big Sexy Chat.
Oh, yeah. They haven't made anything that I haven't enjoyed.
Me neither.
Not a single thing.
Well, so you're going to go see the whale this weekend? I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking all my biggie girls. We're going.
It's so fun to go places with other fat people, like our luncheon, that Sydney and I are at. It's like, you can see people almost like tripping to they're so shocked. And you can see them walk by and some of them make those like faces, like those Karen faces, like, I'm like, oh gosh. We see you. We have eyeballs.
Right. I'm not blind. I can watch you walk by and look me up and down and make the face. I kind of want to buy like a big ass thing of popcorn, and I don't even eat popcorn, but like get it and like just stand outside of the movie theater, like the whale doors, like before people go in, and just like watch them as they're walking in, just to be like, I fucking hate you,
Hey there, welcome to Big Sexy Chat. My name is Crystal.
I'm Merf.
And we are so excited to welcome Ryan to our show tonight. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Great to be here.
Great to have you tonight. So tonight we have a special guest. His name is Ryan. Ryan, how do you say your last name?
McRoby.
Yes, okay. And then Ryan is a podcaster, but also has worked in the sex industry for about 10 or 15 years, something like that?
12 years.
12 years, okay. Awesome. And Ryan, one of the things I would love to talk about a little bit, because I know you're a lubricant expert, but I would like to talk about what it means to have, because this is new from when I joined the industry, how now the FDA actually checks out lubricants and gives it their seal of approval or not. I think you know a lot about that, don't you?
The major crackdown on the industry was actually back in about 2014, 2015. So this whole portion is a little bit old news. The adult industry kind of has this gray market where because there's not a lot of regulation on the actual sale, like when you go through Walmart, you go through Amazon, nobody's like, hey, let me see your papers, like where are you getting this, where are you filling this, I got this whole spreadsheet, you're not getting on my storefront until you fill this out. So we've kind of been in that space. System Joe is a really interesting business because it started as Solomon Levy's business that he just grew from the ground. And right about 2016 or so, they were bought by a like a hedge fund, and it really brought in the money to change the business model so that they could be more like a KY manufacturer. Because CC Wellness, I mean, their manufacturing facility is 260,000 square feet, and it's in California. Like, that's where they make the lube. It's in California.
It's a lot of real estate. That's a lot of money.
And they make a lot of great products. But you'll see, if you ever take a peek behind the curtain, that a lot of companies haven't innovated much since, let's say, before 2000, maybe even early 2000. So it's been very stagnant for a lot of people. In the medical device community, the first thing you have to do is substantial equivalence. That proves that you're not making a new drug. You know, go ahead, Crystal.
One thing I wanted to mention, as the woman who owns a vagina, I'm very grateful that people are finally caring about what we put in our vaginas. Like, no more petroleum-based toys, no more crappy half-price, discount rack lubricants and sex toys, because the vagina is a mucous membrane.
Yeah, I mean, when I was first in the adult industry, I used to be a manager at Blockbuster. I was with them for a really long time. I loved it. I was all about the movie experience. And they went under. And I had a friend like, hey, you're just really good at like retail. Like, you should sell dildos. I know it's weird, but like, talk to your wife about it. And we'd only been together for a year, so it's kind of like a big thing to drop. But she was actually pretty supportive, and I just ended up loving it. But I mean, I remember my first foray into adult, I really didn't have much information. People just don't really talk about lubricants a lot. And as far as main consumer knowledge, it's a very small window. And you're talking about a lot of petrochemicals in that window as well. I mean, propylene glycol was allergen of the year 2 years in a row. And yet all we talk about as an industry is glycerin-free, paraben-free. Like, there's very few brands that are in the space that are looking at, propanediol. They're looking at organic agave. They're looking at all these other different options.
I noticed System JO has some botanicals and some hybrid lubricants. And I just want to say real quick, we should back up a little bit. Your podcast is called All Lubed Up, but Nowhere to Go.
All
right?
lubed up and nowhere to go.
Yeah. And you talk about more than just lubricant on your podcast, obviously. And I know you're in the adult industry, so I know you know a lot of different things about a lot. But I want to make sure people know where you're from and how to find you.
Well, you're going to find me at a whole different place coming soon.
Oh, yeah?
We are actually doing the whole Great Expression project. So there will be more to launch with that. We are actually wrapping up the All Lubed Up show. We might continue it on next year, but we're going into something that's a little bit more consumer oriented. For everybody that's watching, I apologize. I'm terrible. Mea culpa. Let me feed you a little bit more context. The show is a bit more business to business. So it's really a space to talk about the industry. And I have such desire and hope for what our space is capable of. We can see a future where sex toys are actually high quality medical devices, and people could actually be prescribed them. I mean, look at female condoms going prescription. There's a lot of things where, I'm sorry, internal condoms. Let me just correct myself.
Yes.
But there's a lot of really good things that can happen if we kind of align goals and see things move forward. Because even right now, you mentioning that personal lubricants are medical devices and they're licensed by the FDA, and you get this 510K number and you do all your testing and stuff. And what's really exciting is that for the first time in life, lubricant manufacturers are no longer required by law to do animal testing. We've actually had a change on the books of substantial language, a shift in verbiage that is not specifying, and it's very open to interpretation. And I think we're going to see a future where if we can align with consumer trust and data privacy, we can have a lot of really good medical data on products. Because, System Joe makes H2O, it's a water-based personal lubricant. but because they're manufactured in an FDA approved facility and they're ISO compliant, meaning that they are specifically in a medical device category for improvement and constant iteration on the product. And they maintain this license, and there's people that actually come into your facility and they make sure that what you're doing is not only good from a company and manufacturing standpoint, but it makes sense and it's getting better over time.
Yeah.
So it's like a really important thing when you're talking about international standards, selling to EU. I mean, what we see in Germany and other places like that, they are really getting to a fine point with their consumer protections and a lot of their consumable safety. Yeah, go ahead.
My favorite lubricant is the Pure from Germany, the silicone, totally silicone base. And I've never tried the System Joe hybrid or any of the silicone lubricants from System Joe, but I found Pure, PJUR, which is made in Germany, in 2004, and I've just never looked back. No fragrance, no flavors, nothing to make you feel sticky or itchy or tacky. It just works all the time. And so that's kind of my favorite. I think Merf has a favorite from which is
Millennium.
That's right. Is
But
it
I
silicone
actually, no, it's just straight silicone.
hybrid?
But
Okay.
I actually, my husband and I went out and I bought bubblegum flavored gel the other day.
Oh,
And
So that's a really good one.
yeah, that was fun. I was like, ooh, okay, I can, I've
So a
had
few things in
dessert
like
line.
the flavored space is you can have something that is highlighting the aromatic flavor with like a sugar alcohol, like you'll see it in the FDM space. It's like xylitol. You'll see it as glycerin. You'll see it sometimes agave, whatever may fit in that bracket. And each market will kind of use it a little bit differently. But there are also products that have had great safety testing and great data behind sucralose. It's been wonderful. I mean, there are also some products with stevia, but not as many in the actual medical device space.
Yeah. I haven't yet found a flavored lubricant I like, but I will definitely try some of the System Joe flavored
What I
lubes.
would recommend is, and I'm just going to reach behind me
Like
so you can see
the chocolate
this,
chip mint. That was
the
good.
creme brulee.
Ooh,
This
that-
was the
yeah.
one. So I was actually part of the product development team when this product
Nice.
came out, and I will tell you, blew my mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely blew
Okay.
my mind, because what you have in this bottle is also a little bit more pH balanced for a female user. You're
Okay.
removing your estrogenic preservative like paraben, commonly shown as methyl or propyl on a label, and you're replacing it with more of your natural salt base. So sodium chloride, we have some that have sodium benzoate, potassium sorbate, and these all exist way more potent, or they are more synergistic when they're in a more acidic product, which is ideal for, female consumers or vulva owners.
Sure. I just thought of a word that I used to say all the time. Phthalates. What is that?
Okay,
You know,
so
phthalates?
phthalates is it's a plasticizer. It's something to make your products softer. It was something that really was detrimental in the jelly or in that faux realistic space that had to be very squishy. I mean, this was a big deal when I was in retail, probably for the first 2 or 3 years. The industry really kind of weeded it out on its own in some ways. It was a big deal. And I used to have product that was sweating like cheese on the wall. When you're talking about something that's off-gassing, that's breaking down and deteriorating in this plastic clamshell and it was always, this was back in the day. So, I mean, it had some girl in a bikini on it and it was just shitty packaging.
Yeah.
You know what it used to be like. I mean,
No offense, Ryan, but I'm pretty sure the industry was very much filled with men at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then a lot more women have moved into the industry, and we've seen softer, more aesthetically, looks more expensive kind of packaging and products too. And, I'm grateful for all the people that were in it early and got rid of the phthalates and cared about us and all that good stuff. Ryan, I know that you're in the process of kind of building the sex room. I think we should tell people who are watching us on YouTube, tell us a little bit about your wallpaper.
So I really was inspired to create a space because part of our expression project is really hinged in the fact that we don't often have a space to express ourselves. A lot of people find just friction in their life for very simple things. And sometimes because we come from different backgrounds, we come from different families, we have different religions. And when we come together, it can be a little messy, and having a space where people are free to talk, explore thoughts, find ways to even bring partners into the conversation. It can be a way that people can turn towards each other and really strengthen that relationship and like see that person for maybe the first time. And, you know, most people that I've had the experience to kind of do this with, it's eye-opening. Somebody always says, oh, I know this person, and they're going to think this, and they're going to say this, and they're going to have these feelings, and they have this fight. And it's like, wow, well, you've really planned out a lot of stuff to this like fictional event that hasn't happened. So, I mean, that's cool. It sounds like a lot of traps, though. And maybe like some of these things were like projecting some of these things. And as a man, I didn't know what I didn't know when I came into the adult industry. I didn't know what a bullet was or what a pocket rocket was or any of this lingo. I mean, I was literally just like fresh out of Blockbuster, like, all right, let's go sell some dildos.
Hey, Merf, did you get to tell Ryan what you do for a living?
No.
Do you want to?
Yeah, well, I'm a therapist.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's God's work.
Right.
I think so much, and when I think of the strong, powerful women in my life, I look at them as sort of an atlas. You know, this great strength holding a world above them. You know, constantly managing dates and times, the glue that holds things together, sort of the thing that's constantly bringing everything around in a circular fashion, and really kind of tying up those ends and making sure, you know. It's a lot to process. And it's always nice when you can soundboard some things because,
for sure,
you know, gotta let it out.
It's kind of like going to therapy. So I kind of took us off the topic, but I want to just tell us about the wallpaper.
It's a faux crocodile wallpaper. I got it online on a clearance website. I thought it looked really hot. What you can't see on camera right now is I've got a huge St. Andrew's cross just to my left, which is absolutely towering at about 7 feet high. You know, you could swing 6 people from it. It's, you know,
that's awesome.
So we like to bring things in.
I see a penis in your wallpaper and maybe like a little Hitachi wand. What else?
These
are there?
all penises.
Those are all penises.
And then I can just kind of rotate you over here. These are all those. And maybe I can even get the. There's wow. I'm sorry, guys. I'd show you more, but this thing is kind of stuck in place.
Because we want to talk a little bit about
it too much.
We want to talk about sex toy innovations a little bit. So tell us about the person that made your cross and his innovations.
Kenneth Buis at Fedora Fabrications, a really good friend of mine. He started a small business, and his idea was, I really want to make inclusive kink furniture and lifestyle supportive products that fit any height, any weight, even a number of people. You can really do a lot. He started off just with simple sawhorse designs and simple crosses, and then he got into really inspired modular designs where you can both have a cross and a standing horse. You can throw an expanded back on it. If you're the type of relationship where either you have multiple players in the relationship or you prefer to have switch moments or whatever, you hurt your back and you don't want to stand in that position anymore. Like pretty much everything that he does comes at a half size. You can take this part of the leg off and the whole thing will sit 2 feet lower. You can, you know, really change where your bolts and mounting points go. And the way that he does different ankle hanging restraints and different expansion pads, we're talking about a modular design that incorporates a good like 2 foot swing. Like it's a really big deal. I wish to see them more at some of the spaces around in the world, I think it's one of those things where it's a labor of love. You know, it's so hard because he's, one, got to get the message out there so that people know that this is what he does, and two, he has to have enough conversations with them so that maybe they even understand what he's capable of as a designer, because he does a lot of custom work. He even works for like restaurants and firehouses, so he's a really cool dude. But I always encourage customers to look at the custom channel. I mean, you know, there's so many amazing things that you can do that is specified to exactly what you want, to whatever. You can get all the bells and whistles. Believe me, I've bought them. They're fantastic. They work out great. It's a little bit more upfront, but 20, 30 years go by. If this is something, I mean, you know, I do an affiliate program with Sibian because I love the product. And we have a really simple steel frame that's got 2-inch knee pads, and you mount the Sibian in the middle. And Kenneth did this design for her. Cool. And I was so inspired because this is just some guy in his garage in Washington just going like, I really love this and we should do this because it's going to improve the customer's experience and it's going to stop it from sliding. It's a great way to just kind of mount it. I mean, shit, if you want to put wheels and casters on it, he's got a guy. You could just be like wheeled around the house like, you know, like of the grand, you know.
But he has a guy, right? He has a guy. His work is unbelievable. I just like, it's so beautiful. Merf, it's like, woo. And he does have a Facebook. I know. I think he's probably also on Instagram. It's Fedora. What'd you say?
Fedora Fabrications.
Fedora Fabrications, and I'll definitely put it in the show notes. It's really gorgeous stuff. Super, just custom. You know, like that really rich, like red, glittery vinyl, and it's shiny and stuff. Merf, like, oh, beautiful black, purple. It's really lovely. Yeah. It's really lovely. Do you, Ryan, off the top of your head, do you know how much weight the Sibian holds? And also, do you know, does he ever make the things that go around your ankles and your wrists larger for larger people?
Okay, so first question is weight range on a Sibian. That is a very durable structure in there. I would assume it's pushing 500 pounds.
Okay.
That's my assumption. As far as the quality and the material that Sibian does, I mean, literally, if you go to some of the kink spots, they've had this thing in full rotation for 15 years, 20 years. Like some of these places have some of the old school models. They're still rolling. There's no damage to the exterior. I mean, this was a project designed by a man as a labor of love for just really in general, I'll say all the women of the world. I think it was very specific to some women in his life, but it just became this much bigger thing. And it's all family owned and operated. It's such a cool little organization. For anybody that wants to talk more about that, I always do my little affiliate thing because I think, you know, for, you know, $1,300, $1,500, you can get a really killer thing. I mean, I've spent $350 on a rabbit before.
Right. We all have.
So, I mean, there's that. You know, I've spent $500 on something steel.
When you go on vacation in some cities, did you know that you can rent a Sibian sometimes?
Really?
I haven't heard about that, but it's very easy. They make a lot of mounts and tops that are sterilizable and stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me. It's not a cheap product. This is not something that has like your Phantom Flesh topper on it. This is like, you know, real deal.
Good stuff.
I just always remember Sibian from Howard Stern, and I don't know. That thing went through all kinds of stuff, so and it was still going. So
the
I know
real
he's not doing
downside,
that anymore, but...
the real downside to it, because I've been kind of talking with people in the kink community a lot more lately, and there have been some people that there's been a lot of bad behavior on the dom side, and it's a really negative part of the culture, and I think there's still a little bit of weeding out that's really happening in some of these communities. But I mean, I've heard stories of people setting women up in very uncomfortable positions and cranking these things, which for anybody listening, a pleasurable ride is usually around 3 to 4, not 11. So there really is still a lot that we can do, even in our communities, to make sure that people know how to use the product. If you were a retailer that, you know, was able to get a partnership, it's so important that when you're demoing things that you're presenting some of these topics, because it's so easy to just kind of like crank something to 11 because it's so impressive and it's so loud and yes, look at this power, and like but you've lost that customer in the experience because it's just about you now revving this product and
Right.
like feeling the horsepower. It's not about like an obtainable experience that sounds pleasurable and has room to grow from just this part that I like.
Right. Thank you. That's helpful. So is he making larger cuffs and stuff for people's size?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So he has a partnership with Axivus, who can do custom leather for anybody that wants to work and get something that comes all together with a Fedora Fabrications custom situation where the metallic pieces are powder coated to match and it's a uniform set. So he's got a guy that just makes sure that you get what you want, because some people want a wider cuff, some people want a rolled cuff.
Sure.
There's just so much there. And when you're already at the threshold of spending, you know, $3,000 to $4,000 on a nice little setup for yourself, you know, $500 extra just to make sure that you've got the right gear to not have to worry about all the pressure points with rope. I like rope. I think it's great. Beautiful. And it's good for couples to get their trust exercises early on, because you've got to have that 2-finger gappage to make sure that you're allowing it to breathe and you can move it with ease. It's a really social event, surprisingly. I think it blows a lot of people's minds when they actually kind of take the first few steps, because it's the only time when something sexual is okay if somebody's constantly checking in on you. You know what I mean? In any other circumstances, like just keep doing the oral sex, and it's good. The more you talk, the less I'm enjoying this. But with rope and stuff, it's very much about getting into that Zen space.
Yeah, very cool.
Complete
it's
trust.
So beautiful. There's a lot of classes in the Bay Area about shibari and things like that that you can go to, and it's not a sexual event, but it's a demonstration. Sometimes it might be sexual, but you know, you would know that, but most of them are not. And before we wrap up, Ryan, I was thinking about the innovation in the sex toy industry, and I was wondering, have you ever tried that product for men where you jam your testicles into it and it turns it into a dildo?
Yes.
Baldo.
Yes. It's okay, so for anybody that's just joining us, it looks like the casing of a bullet that has the sides of it that are hollowed out, and it has a hardened, reinforced tip. It's a little bit more on the girthy side of toys. I mean, it's probably close to about 2 inches in diameter. So I think it's very pleasurable for people that are looking for that very filling G-spot sensation, because it really gets that. And with the slight texture, you'll actually have a little bit of skin pop through. So there's a lot of different sensations upon insertion, but it's not like a lot of people are going to like jump into this. They're going to be like, oh, I'm going to like ball mash you. And like, you really have to prepare for it because it is a thicker product. You need the right lubrication. Behind me, we were talking about like lubricants for different body sizes and different uses and stuff. This H2O gel in the black tube is a really great men's product, and it's the thing that I would use for anything that's like testicular, or even for some anal and perineum sort of massage uses. It's like a thick pillow of lube. It's different because a lot of jellies are sold as gels, but a gel is not really supposed to bridge. Jellies string and cling, and they bridge when they introduce themselves into a cavity, so that wherever it's trying to go to, it's going to spread it very naturally. So that'd be like an H2O jelly from the System Joe line. But gel is just like a thick, it's like the purple pillow of lube. This thing is just jiggly, and it's so thick, and it just doesn't dry out. It's got a really good body. And what a lot of people don't really consider with lubricants is a lot of times the thickeners, something from like a wood fiber, something like a cellulose, very natural product. These things, you don't absorb them in your body.
Yeah.
And a lot of water-based lubricants will reactivate with your sweat, with self-lubrication. I probably wouldn't introduce a lot of spit to it.
Thank you.
I actually have a little 1 ounce cosmetic mister that I put RO fresh water in anytime I'm playing, because it is nice to have a little spritz, especially if you're doing like Nuru erotic massage with a water-based product. You have to maintain that glide by introducing a little bit more moisture. But they run forever. That's why a lot of guys really get hooked on Joe H2O, because for self-masturbation, it's like it's the never-ending gobstopper of lube.
I wish. Back to the Baldo. What does that material feel like?
It's a medical grade silicone,
is it
or a
bit
platinum
squish?
cured, I would say. It's got a little bit of squish and stretch, but the tip of it is hardened. Definitely a different sensation from the bridging sides. The entire back part is a stretchable, flexible chamber that you can open up, and you can, for the most part, get almost all your giblets in. But the best way to go about it is align your testicles vertically, so to speak, get one down in the chamber, and then apply pressure to get the other one in, and just kind of wiggle it up like you're tightening a turtleneck up to your head, and the head is your pubic bone.
Question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm imagining this tool, whatever you want to call it, on a man, and then here's his dildo. I'm just kind of like making, how would you describe this? Like almost like for double
the turkey.
penetration.
It's like,
so the penis is here and the baldo is below it. So then does the baldo go into the vagina and the penis is kind of staying out here?
Yes, but like, let me put some flavor text to this. Like,
Thank you.
It didn't just get out there for oxygen. It's there for some fun. It's open for playability. This is something that's going to go hand in hand with a hand. You know what I mean? There's going to be a lot of other sensations that can be built on top of this, and he's going to be developing. He was talking about on the All Lubed Up show doing a prostate attachment in the future. He didn't have it at the time, but I think that's really where the money is, because it's much more pleasurable long term for the wearer, and you could get to a sense. The ballgasm is real, though. It legit is real. It's not like any other orgasm, because you have to understand that you're at this for like 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. It's not a slow process. And it really is something that builds up long-term over time. And it's like a very moderate euphoric sensation where all those nerve endings kind of, around the perineum and up in, the glands up to the bridge of the penis and the testicle. There's just a lot there. You've got a lot of blood flow because you've been moving and kind of churning and stuff like that. So it's a trip of a sensation. I think it's a milestone moment. You would have to be really into testicles and testicular play to fully get the flavor of it. But I find that a premium product at that type of price, I'm the kind of consumer that was absolutely on board for checking it out. Because who doesn't want to know and check that off their list? But that's I guess that's the male brain,
No, I certainly want to try it. I was wondering, how does that actually work? But would you say, if your person has more sensitive testicles, how would they feel about it?
Well, sensitive testicles are often testicles that maybe haven't been played with very much, have constantly been in a seated position. There's a lot of different things that can go into hypersensitivities. I mean, there are a lot of things. Sure, there's so many things that can come into it. I mean, if for a lot of men that haven't had sex in a while, they finally find a partner that they connect with, and they're very passionate, and it lasts pretty quick, because they haven't had the real sensation of, you know,
Right.
being with a woman or being with a
Mm-hmm.
man or whatever it may be. And it's different. It's like, you know, we're all electricity really flying through it. And you have somebody else to additionally charge you with some of that electricity and energy.
Yeah.
Like it flows. And it's not a wonder. That's why, like, this black tube with the red label, this is the one for any guys that are watching.
Mm-hmm.
Prolonger gel. If you're okay with a little bit of peppermint oil to give you that plumping, thickening sensation,
Mm-hmm.
and you're all right with the smell of patchouli oil, it's got natural numbing products in it that actually just reduce your sensitivity. And it's wonderful for people that have like long distance relationships, like, oh, I'm finally going out to see, like, you know, not everybody's on board with benzocaine or lidocaine because they're worried about like transference with their partner and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Allspice and patchouli, man.
Mm-hmm. One thing I will say about the Baldo too is sex is supposed to be fun, and sometimes it is also funny, and sometimes it gives you a laugh, and it's okay to laugh a little as long as you're both like laughing together. You're not laughing at somebody, but sometimes you're going to fucking laugh because hilarious shit happens, right? And it almost kind of like creates you like a more of a bond with your partner. Like, oh my God, remember that time we were in the hotel and whatever, you know, like, oh yeah, that was hilarious. That should be how sex is, right? Don't take it so seriously.
There's actually a well-diagnosed medical condition where you have responses to orgasms, and a very common response is actually laughing, laughter.
Mm-hmm.
There are other more
Crying.
strange and weird diagnosed events, but for the most part, there are a lot of people that will have a cathartic release or a laughter release while climaxing.
You are so awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see what you guys are coming up with your new, what'd you call it, expressions?
Yeah, we're doing the Great Expression Project.
Great Expression,
and it is going to be a little bit different because I am a little bit more in the sexual expression realm. I think it's really important. I don't care what your kinks are or anything like that, but I think you really have the right and you need to find a space to express them. If not to live in that lane, at least to merge with other people in your direct vicinity with, you know, the color of the van that you're driving. Let's just put it that way.
Right. I love it. I love it.
We've got some musicians and some artists and stuff. Go ahead.
Great. I was just going to say, and to really understand yourself, you know, when you can express your sexuality openly and not have to worry or be concerned about judgment, you're really at a high level of actualization.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'll give you an example. My wife loves being picked up. It's her favorite thing, but it used to be a really nerve-wracking thing that she never told anybody about because, you know, she's 6 foot tall. She's always been kind of the larger frame, you know, 2 kids and all that kind of stuff, just how the natural body goes. She slimmed down quite a bit, but she still has this expression where she wants to be weightless and she wants to really have that experience. So it's quite funny, you know. Get the fireman carry her around and she quite enjoys it. You know, sometimes you can find simple joy in little things.
Absolutely.
She should go to one of those float spas and go float in all that Epsom salt.
Yeah, those are fun.
Nice. Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate it. All lubed up with no place to go right now. I know you're on Facebook. We'll be able to find your new projects there, I'm sure, and on your Instagram.
Yeah, we can do this later. The studio still has a bit of renovation, and we've got to put all this kink furniture out in this tiny little space. So it'll be like dominoes and Tetris all together.
Sounds heavenly.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Merf.
Thanks for having me.
Talk to y'all later.
All right. Thanks.
Bye. Well, we will be back soon with another episode. We're so glad to have all of you part of our community. We'd love for you to like, share, and review, subscribe. We could use your support always. We do this for you. And thank you, Merf. I will see you later, alligator.
After a while, crocodile.